Welcome back to Final Fantasy.
Everyone, strap yourselves in.
Dweebs,
I thought Jova was driving now.
Yeah, I thought you left Jova, Dweebs.
Unfortunately, guys, Jova had a terrible accident where he somehow managed to break both his arms, so I'm taking over.
Translation, Dweebs forgot he gave the order and basically, in his natural stance, ended up taking the wheel again, as per everyone else's orders.
By the way, if you're in desperate need for some juicy and extra XP, try to fight these particular monsters in the desert, since they are easily doable with ice spells. There you go. And they give you actually a lot of experience, potentially. But
weird.
anyway, who's ready for some climbing?
No.
I'm all for it.
Dweebs, think of this as a training. First of all, you have to climb this tower, top to bottom. Sorry, bottom to top, sorry.
All right.
Wow, I mean, we're going from the top. Actually, yeah. Why couldn't we just land at the top of the building?
Well, for an abstract dungeon, they could try a game like that. Ibsen's Castle in Final Fantasy IX works like that, technically. Where everything is in reverse, and the hint that has been giving you at the beginning works also for your equipment too. The starter weapon for your characters are the more effective against the monsters there. Or you can just have a team full of mages and say fuck it, but what do I know?
What's this track?
It's well, you may have noticed them because I sprinkled them throughout. Anyway, since I sprinkled them through all the run, where the 8-bit tracks are from Nier Automata, the one that you normally hear when you hack into something.
Hmm.
There's a lot of 8-bit tracks being in modern RPGs recently.
Not just that.
There's ones you get in Persona 5 when you're on the games machine.
Not just that, Keiichi Okabe continues to surprise me for the fact that he just came out of nowhere despite him having some experience with Tekken, and yet he's so capable of doing so many different things, including this retro 8-bit style.
It's not even just that, Catherine also has 8-bit tracks in the Rapunzel arcade game.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure there's something else.
I've played Catherine full body a little bit, I haven't got that far.
If I recall correctly, you can start accessing it very early on. It's just a matter of... Yeah. It's just an optional stuff that you can do anyway. Anyway, as for the enemies of the tower, you can see the vampires start showing up again. Just because, they start to reskin some previous mini-bosses as enemies. But don't worry, at this point of the game, you are pretty much more capable of handling them.
Mm-hmm.
Also, apparently, let me check if she's back. Oh, well, I'll mention when she's back because she actually got a new weapon in the meantime.
Nice.
Also, some weird chimera shit's weird. But here's the interesting thing about this. Our friend left on a journey to the west.
Oh.
He took the warp cube and went to see our master.
Oh, okay. I may have some bad news for you, buddy.
But here's the thing, you can potentially arrive here and be told to your face, but you need the warp cube if you haven't. But keep in mind, at this point, you might have just, upgraded your white mage and got the teleport spell, Also, Blue Dragon, I don't remember. Let's just not use the eternity.
Sakaguchi later reused this idea to make a shitty game, basically.
Use the warp cube to travel beyond the sky. It will take you to the flying fortress.
Let me guess, we're gonna find Maru Maru in here.
Thankfully, no. There you go. This is the flying fortress. Like I mentioned in the previous part, originally thanks to the NES having more simple aesthetics, this was left ambiguous, but it was very hinted that this was an actual space station, and the dialogue seems to suggest that as well. However, later on with the redesign, they just transformed it into a fancy floating castle. to keep it a bit more consistent. But I kind of like the idea of it being a space station and the Lufenian race being super technological, but then when the fiends arrived, everything went to shit as a result. And keep in mind, some of the sci-fi stuff elements, are still present here, because I will not show in this part, but in a later part, this dungeon is very infamous for presenting what was basically the progenitor, of the bonus bosses for the Final Fantasy franchise. Keep in mind, optional, powerful bosses in RPGs are a super common thing that happens since the dawn of time. So Final Fantasy is clearly not the first to do it, but it premiered it in a particular way. Instead of having it just as a proper boss, a separate boss encounter, it can potentially ambush you as a random monster. What TV tropes call it bossy mook clothing, So inexperienced players, we just had to face a very difficult game, mind you, at that point. Just gets greeted with this thing ambushing them out of nowhere, and basically steamrolling all over their party, not understanding why. Again, I will show a demonstration of it later on. I think at the beginning of the last part, just to, give it a showcase. But anyway, since you're back, Shiroi, I have good news. I deemed you worthy because now you're carrying Forzamer.
Mjolnir.
It's not super powerful, mind you, but it's a better weapon from the one that you carry so far.
Congratulations, White Wizard.
You were deemed worthy to wield the power of 4.
I knew you were worthy all along.
Of course. Anyway, for this occasion, I tried to cut away some encounters just to, not spend too much time here. But anyway, as you can see, also the evil eye starts appearing also as a random encounter. Basically, the rule of thumb is that the mini bosses that you encounter that are not the fiends, will show up later on as, regular monsters, which is a practice that a lot of RPGs will tend to do, just to symbolize the fact that our characters have grown in the meantime. So we're capable of handling these kind of monsters on a much more normal basis.
So to your question.
Yes?
In terms of, I know sometimes you get a chest where you say you can't hold any more, so
basically, those normally are like stuff like potions or ethers. If I have 99 of those, I can't carry them anymore, literally. And since I've been strategizing enough to actually carry as much items as I can.
So you never really have to worry about missing out on any special gear or anything?
No. Those not for those. I will showcase basically all the extra equipment that you can get even from the bonus dungeons, except for one that I wasn't able to properly show, but I would like to explain this in the penultimate part.
So next question, do you have like a favorite character, a favorite dungeon, a favorite theme in this game?
As for the class for this game, I gotta say, I will potentially say the Red Mage, mostly because it incarnates a bit, it's the jack of all stats. It doesn't excel in anything, unfortunately, but if you can actually keep enough until the end of the game, at least for this updated version, it can equip one of the end-game weapons, one of the more powerful ones, the Masamune, which has the advantage of being compatible with any class. In fact, I think I will give this to Pedro in this run. But gotta be honest, as much as it takes a lot of damage, I have to admit the monk is infinitely more satisfying to use, just for the fact that it's very basic. You don't have to invest anything in him, and it just literally beats the shit out of its opponent.
See, that you are appreciated.
It took you long enough, but.
Dweebs, I used you for
honestly,
the start.
I don't know, Dweebs. I don't know, Dweebs. When you say respect, I think you mean adoration. Because I think you are a bit too demanding.
Like, think about it like this.
Monks do enough of admonishing other people. I think I'm due for
Sure.
Dwibs, we respect you. We revive you. We protect you. We save your rear end half the time. We let you drive the ship.
Dwibs, how many times have I saved all you as well as the other guys with my black magic? Well, come on.
And how many times have I? And how many times have I carried you and the others as well, Dwibs?
In his interdimensional pocket.
But also potentially in combat, in a sense that I have to admit, yes, the warrior. We got another ribbon. Let's see who we have to dress up. Yes, let's put it on Dweebs. You look absolutely perfect.
Dweebs,
nice.
And before you say anything, Dweebs, the ribbon is one of the best accessories in the series.
I said thanks.
Yeah. It doesn't excel in physical or magical defense, but it protects you against pretty much any debuff. Again, the juxtaposition is the fact that, well, it's a ribbon. Anyway, in the meantime, congratulations, warrior. You've obtained the adamantite, a very sturdy mineral. Maybe, just maybe, there's a blacksmith in the world that may need this ore.
Maybe he could form it into adamantium.
Yes.
Well, you're potentially asking a bit too much, but you'll see, Jova, you'll see.
Anyway, what were you saying about the warrior?
Well, like I said, it's basically the tank of the group. It has to actually absorb most of the physical damage. The way the line works in these early Final Fantasy games, at least for 1 and 2, mind you, is that the character that is on the top of the line is the one that has the more probability of being targeted by an enemy. It's not a 100% guarantee, but it's more probable that it might be targeted. So of course you want to put the warrior there, while instead the stuff like your wizards will be on as much as possible on the back. So they have less chances to be targeted, and the others are like in the middle. Yes, Jova?
How much does it say that even though I get targeted the most, Dwibs has died the most?
Well,
somehow?
once again, that is a percentage thing. It's the game and not dependent on me. But to go back to your question, Jova, in terms of dungeon, that's actually a good question. I have for the actual mainline dungeon, I will say this one, the Flying Fortress. From this observation window, you can look out on the entire world.
Really?
So, let's take a look. The observation window looks out upon the world. The 4 forces of fire, water, and wind appear as a mist converging on a single point. A point at the center of the 4 altars. This must be the location of the Chaos Shrine.
Yay!
There you go. There's a war map, for example.
I can literally see it. The entire world, guys.
There you go. The locations forms to the fact that the Chaos Shrine is pointed sort of at the center of the world. Of the map. Remember, Dwibs, this is a flying fortress. You're up above in space at the moment.
Not to
mention. How are we not dying?
Well,
because magic.
Station. Analyzing Tiamat, no known weaknesses. Oh shit. That's an actual problem. Like the previous fiends, this one doesn't seem to have weaknesses, but more on that later. But like I said, Joe, in terms of dungeon, probably this one. I like the monsters that you fight here, including the optional, random bossy move clothing. I like Tiamat compared to the other of the fiends, but again, more on her later. But if I have to, for the game as a whole, one of my favorite dungeons is definitely the one of the optional ones. And I will mention it when we'll actually get to it, and I will show it to you. But just to foreshadow, the idea behind the optional dungeon is that there are a set of floors in the terms of the tens, like either 10, 20, or 40, for example, and they are sort of randomized in how they're presented. They're chosen by a list, and you, aside from the boss levels, you don't know what you're gonna get. So it's kind of like a surprise. And one of them actually has my favorite sets of dungeon. So many guilds.
Ooh, a gold needle.
Oh, gold needle. So we had to.
So random close.
Just go back.
Okay,
just,
game.
It's okay.
Game, I don't understand you. Why did you give me basic protection? Seriously.
It's okay, guys. I know how this works. We're supposed to go back to the tailor shop because the gold needle is actually his, and he'll give us a cloak so we can cross the icy mountain.
Of course.
There you go. The good news is that stuff like the Protect Cloak can be equipped as a shield also from classes who normally don't build it, like the mages. There you go. Give it more defense.
Nice.
That's because it's not properly a shield. It's more like a mantle that, the user just roofs over to protect itself.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. I also use these moments potentially also to heal in the meantime, if it adds to. I also like one thing that they added for these new couple of versions is the fact that some of the attacks for the sound design department, some of the attacks actually have sound corresponding to them. For example, most of the attacks will be like scratches, for example, from these enemies since they have claws. But for example, the robots who have laser attacks actually do have both an animation and actual sound corresponding to them shooting a laser at you.
Nice.
That is nice. Oh, Jesus.
When did this version come out?
The PSP version, I forgot actually.
2000. Wasn't it like the 2007 sale for the 20th anniversary, if I remember correctly?
I think so. It was tied to that at the very least.
Yeah.
But let me check again just to be sure.
I remember hearing it that it was supposed to be the 20th anniversary edition or something along those lines.
But yeah, it was kind of like smack in the in the middle of the cycle of the PSP it lives.
Now, from what I understand, this is pretty much still the definitive way to play Final Fantasy.
Pretty much. Like I said, if there needs to be a modern port on PC or other console, it has to be this one. After all, the actual mobile port, the one for iOS and Android, is based on this one, so it's a logical approach.
I've heard horror stories about the anthology games on PlayStation 1.
Well, okay.
They have issues, but I would say they're serviceable enough. Personally.
The Final Fantasy 1 and 2 versions are the better one, Jova. The SNE, I actually tried the stuff like the Final Fantasy 5 version on PlayStation, and I can tell you that they are sort of ports of the SNES version.
You mean on Wonder Swan? Are you talking about the? Oh, okay. Never mind then. Never mind.
The actual PlayStation version of Final Fantasy 5, I think it's just taken from the SNES version. It doesn't look too good. It's also a shame because again, the Game Boy Advance versions actually have the better content, which to this day is reflected by the Steam ports, which unfortunately are carried over from the mobile versions, which gives the character goddamn awful sprites.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a shame. Anyway, the PSP versions were released in. Okay. For Japan and America, it was pretty close. Spring summer 2007. While Europe had to wait February of the next year, 2008, for that version.
Huh?
Why? I don't even know why. The only language available was English anyway, so they didn't have to change it multi-5 or anything.
Does Square not have a European division or something?
They did.
No, I actually do wonder if it was something tied to the PSP sales, potentially. I don't know.
I don't know either.
As for Final Fantasy 2, just let me check just to be sure.
Because
that's the player's fail in the meantime.
Because Square games did get released around here even before they
there you go.
bought Eidos.
That's the same for Final Fantasy 2, basically.
Anyway,
alright, there you go. This is the final corridor where you can face Tiamat and where that enemy that I mentioned before can potentially spawn. But as I mentioned, you will not see him here right now. More on him later.
He's taking a nap.
Well, Bibs, it's better if he takes a nap. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
help, but getting hit by JPEGs of tornadoes.
And Naga, not looking her best.
I will say that the PS1 port of Chrono Trigger, because I actually did complete that one back in the day, was pretty serviceable. Yeah, it had the load times because of the PS1, because PS1. But outside of the load times, the extras menu with all the cut
and also the anime cutscenes. Anyway,
yeah, the anime cutscenes. Yeah.
The Leech, Marileaf, the Kraken. You have defeated 3 fiends and reached my lofty perch.
Uh-oh.
Now
Look out, guys.
die!
Here she comes.
More the better. May the image of Tiamat, the fiend of wind, be the last to burn in your eyes.
So,
Alright,
you're basically
warriors,
a Hydra.
watch out. Tiamat is the queen of the dragons, well, a despot more likely, and she's a bitch. Like I said, like the hints said, no weaknesses. She casts all sorts of colorful spells, so it's one of those, battles where you need to start actually, protecting yourself first and then attack later. Luckily, now you have items that can, help you circumvent the waste of MPs for this one. So let's start with some buffing.
Giant's gloves!
And this will
just that's not much.
Yeah, so let's
Good effort, Dwig.
let's try just some buffing, see if that helps.
The Giant's Glove is basically your best tool to use for now for buffing, because it doesn't just give temper, it gives the more powerful version of it. I forgot exactly what the name is, but it boosts not only the attack power but also the accuracy, meaning that you can potentially score even more hits if you can. Oh shit.
Ow!
Yeah,
Okay,
definitely
that hurt a
ow.
bit.
There you go, that's another buff.
The more the merrier.
Ah, you can see us.
With any luck, we'll
Alright,
make like
yeah, I
John
think it's
Cena
about
and
time
beat
to
her
start
good.
nuking the dragon.
Oh, poison gas!
About that.
PPP's down! PPPP's down!
I thought we were calling before.
Well, call it whatever you
down.
want.
P4's down.
Luckily, the spells that you bought in Lufenia, Full Life, can actually revive someone with all its HP instead of being critical, meaning that it's actually more easy. But unfortunately, Java slays the dragon while P4 unfortunately still has to stay down. Sorry.
Figures that the knight takes out the dragon. We did
I
it!
just wanted to steal your XP.
Yeah.
Do not listen to the disembodied voice, P4.
Alright, let's jam in the last crystal. Yeah, going through the sci-fi themes, it was also very implied that these crystals that you activated are actually sort of power sources through the game. They're actually more technological than magical. But again, more thoughts than anything.
You know what this means, guys? We got all 4 crystals!
Yep.
So when exactly do we get? So when exactly do we get any kind of reward for any of this?
Hey, about time.
We got that damn 4th crystal.
Yes. One thing that I forgot to mention is that you can check also the status in your menu. The menu constantly has the 4 crystals, if you have a keen eye you already noticed, and as soon as you complete one of these dungeons, the corresponding crystal in the menu also lights up, to represent that. So that's also a nice touch. Alright, now the game will tell you where to go. That's told you where to go, the Chaos Shrine. However, there's a couple of stuff to do first. First of all, let's go back to the Scottish dwarves and to the blacksmith.
Here you go.
Is this adamantite?
Sure is.
Alright, I'll use this to make you the finest sword you'll wield.
Did you hear that, guys? He's gonna make me a cool sword.
Very slowly. There you go, just a second. Dine! In all my years, I've never crafted a finer sword.
I was glad to help.
Go on, take her. She's yours.
Oh, hell yes, she is.
Jova
see.
triumphantly raises his hand as he wields the sword Excalibur.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, only he can wield it, so all of you are free. Well, you will get some cool toys later on. Well, not you, Dweebs, but, the pot is bare.
Well, remember, Teo, he doesn't need it. He has his guns, the Hulkster's guns.
Yeah, that different kind of gun, yeah.
But anyway...
if I get shot to death and I have no method of defense...
remember, Teo, my weapons are these fists, so mine.
Yes, chicken
He's gonna
wolves.
give those enemies his hands.
Anyway,
Cash those packs.
we will actually get to the Care Shrine at a later date. I'm just ending here for the purpose, because the next couple of parts instead will be devoted to the optional dungeons that I mentioned. So join us next time for when we tackle the dungeon themed after Final Fantasy III. See ya.
See you then.
See ya.
See ya.
Yeah.